Hi, welcome to our pre-algebra chapter review. We're going to try and go over a few things today. Make sure you're ready for the chapter review that you're going to take, which will be a quiz grade. So I'm just going to highlight a few concepts from each section. You will do the chapter review evens. And so I'm going to start in the chapter review on page 569 and just hit a few highlights. If this chapter's been easy for you, you can fast forward to this video to a section that you might need particular help with. But we're going to go through it. First of all, there's no need to memorize all the formulas this chapter. There are a lot. And for this test, which will be a project, you'll be able to use your book, you'll be able to use a calculator. So I'm not focused on you memorizing the formulas. The truth is, the more you do these problems, the more you're going to learn the formulas naturally. So, that being said, let's start with section 1, which is area of parallelograms and trapezoids. Probably the toughest thing people do is make mistakes with the bases. So, the formula for that is in your book. I'm not going to review all of that because you can see it. But what I do want to make sure you know is that the bases are always the parallel sides. No matter how that shape is turned in your book, the bases are the parallel sides, not just always the top and the bottom. When you apply that formula, you must add the bases first. Before you multiply times the height, before you divide things by 2, you must add the bases first. So, since you're going to be doing evens, I'm going to do an odd one for you. I'm going to start with number 5. So it says, find the area of a trapezoid bases of 6 yards and 9 yards. And a height of 8 yards. Okay? So, like I want you to do, you write your formula. Half base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Okay? So this, it tells you the base was 6 yards and 9 yards. Alright? And the height was 8. Now, you can divide that height first. But always make sure you've added this. So 6 plus 9, we're at 15. Okay? I'm going to do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Okay? So my area is 4 times 15, which ends up being 60. And the label there is yards squared. If you can see all that. If you can't, I'll get out of your way. You can zoom in there and look at what that is. Okay, so that's the highlights for that. Remember, height is always indicated by a red line, which indicates the right angle. Okay, so we'll erase this one. Let's go to the next section, which is the area of circles. Most of you, that's pretty easy. You know that part. Sometimes it'll tell you to use 3.14 for pi, otherwise you can hit the pi button on your calculator. Those of you that are using a calculator that has the pi button above a number, you hit the shift key and then that number, and it'll take the pi, which is indicated above that number. So, area of circles, pi r squared. The only real trick there is if they give you the diameter, pay attention, you need to use the radius. Okay? So, number 9 on that section, I'll move over here, see if it helps a little bit. It gives you the radius is 3.7 miles. The area, pi r squared. Okay? So, you take your calculator, you square 3.7, multiply it by pi, or 3.14, you will get about 42.99. Anytime you're using area, your label is miles squared, or whatever the measurement is, miles, meters, whatever. And use the squared. Okay? If it doesn't tell you to round, be careful not to round. If it tells you to round to the nearest hundredth, do that. But if it doesn't tell you, be careful about that. All right. Classifying, this is 10.3, classifying three-dimensional figures. When you have that, the important thing there is to remember that pyramids and prisms, they have 2 names. Okay? it's based, the first name is based on what their base is. So you may have a triangular prism, you may have a rectangular prism. You have to pay attention to what the shape of the base is when you are classifying those. Okay? So, if you look at number 15 in your book, this is on page 570 in the chapter 10 review. Most of you look at that. Is it, what shape is it? It's a cylinder. And is it a polyhedron? It is not. You should know that because it has curved sides and polyhedrons do not. So, that's the classifying portion. I'm going to combine 10.4 and 10.5. That's the surface area of all those four shapes: prisms, pyramids, cylinders, and cones. Very closely related. We did some of that together. When we do the surface area, the one trick there is to pay attention to slant height. So slant height is indicated with an L, okay? The regular height of a side is indicated with an H. Slant height in that formula is indicated with an L. So watch out for that. Let me grab one of these shapes here. I'm going to erase this. All right, if I'm looking at slant height, let's just say of this shape here, the slant height is on the outside, okay, of the slanted side. The height would be what we're talking about in the inside, from the vertex up here until the base, okay, in the middle. That would be the height. The slant height is on the side, okay? So make sure you pay attention. Slant height is that angled side there, and that's indicated with L. All right, for the surface area portion, for 10.4 and 10.5, I'll go ahead and do number 19. Okay, so 19, we're talking about a rectangular prism. The length is 5 feet, the width is 2 feet, and the height is 9. So, this is number 15. The formula here we're using because we're talking about a rectangular prism. Okay, 2 times the base plus the perimeter times the height here. Okay, make sure you remember those capital B's. That means area of the base. This is a rectangular prism. That means the base is a rectangle. Okay, so if I'm thinking about it, my amazing drawing skills, right? I've got 5 and 2. So we know that the area of a base is length times width. Okay, so that'll be that, plus the perimeter. 5, that's 5. And then if this side is 2, that side is 2, the perimeter, I'm going to add that up. 5 and 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14. Okay, times the height there. Okay, and it tells you on number 19 that the height is 9. Because I'm not good enough to draw a 3D figure, you can just look in your book for that information. All right, so we have 2 times the area of the base. We know this is 10 times 2, so we have 20 plus 14 times 9, so we have 126 there. All right, and our surface area for number 19 comes to 146, and the label there is feet squared. Okay, if that's hard for you to see, zoom in on the video. I realize trying to get these perspectives, it's a little bit hard. All right, that is 19, surface area of a rectangular prism. You have pyramids and cones, so let's look at 21. 21 is talking about a square pyramid with a base area. So right there for 21, it gives you the base area. So pay attention to that. If it says it gives you the base area, it already gives you capital B. So, number 21, okay? The base area is 49. All right, and the label there is square meters. And then it tells you it has a slant height, which is L. And I use a cursive L. That's what they use in your book, cursive L, because otherwise it would look like a 1. So the slant height is 4 meters. Okay, so for this square pyramid, we have our formula, base plus 1/2 perimeter times the slant height. I know I have a rectangular base, so just think about it. If the area of it's 49, that means my sides there are 7 and 7. Okay? So, surface area, the base is 49, plus 1/2 the perimeter, 7 times 7, or excuse me, 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. Okay, 7 times 4, 28. And my slant height is 4. Okay? I usually will divide that 4 by 2 and just say, all right, 2 times 28. Okay? That'll give me 49 plus 56. And my area there will be 105 meters squared. Okay? So, that works through the surface area of those. Those are very similar formulas. Again, you can use your book for all that. 10.6 and 10.7, we're on volume. So let's finish this up quick. We've got the volume of prisms, cylinders, pyramids, and cones. If you can apply the formulas, okay, going through every little example will be unnecessary. Most of you can look at the formula and apply those. Again, the things I've told you about slant height, those are the little details. Capital B is the area of a base. Again, for cylinders and cones, you need to remember, when they use pi r squared, sometimes they're going to give you diameter. You divide that by 2 to get your answer for a radius to use in your formula. Okay, so let's look at 10.6 and 10.7, the volumes. Look at the 25. We have got a prism here. Make sure with prisms that you're paying attention, whatever the shape looks like in your book, just looking at the top and bottom doesn't mean that that is the base of your prism. Okay, for example, let me show you this. 25 we're going to do, and that's rectangular, so that's a little easier to see. But let's say you are doing, okay, you have a triangular prism. It may look like, they may put it in your book like this, but that doesn't mean that this down here is your base. Whatever your two parallel sides are, that's where your base is. So if you think of it like on its end there, but in your book, it might have this kind of a shape. Okay, be careful. The two sides that are parallel, these two triangles, those are your bases. This is not the base. Okay, so I know that gets confusing sometimes with how you look at it in the book, and that might be a common mistake. We're looking at 25, rectangular prism there. It gives you the dimensions. So the formula we're using for the volume is the area of the base times the height. So in that great picture, has those long rectangles. Okay, so the base there is 9 and 5. That's your bases. So in order to find the area of that rectangle, I'm going to go 9 times 5. The height there is 3. So to get my volume, I have 45 times 3, and my volume is 135 inches cubed. Okay, three-dimensional, length times width times height for that volume. Okay, so you have volume there of a rectangular prism. Last one we're going to look at, volume number 27 of a rectangular pyramid. Okay, a rectangular pyramid has one shape of the base, and it comes to a vertex at the top. Okay, so here the formula for volume of this, it's a rectangular pyramid, so we're going to use 1/3 the area of the base times the height. Okay, on this one, it tells you that the base side lengths are 6 centimeters and 9. Okay, and it's rectangular, so I'm going to go 6 times 9. And then it says, and the height is 7. Okay, I were you, I wouldn't do anything yet. I would do 1/3. 6 times 9 is 54. Times 7. When you multiply that out and divide by 3, you're going to get your final volume is 126 centimeters cubed. Okay, so we've gone through each section, looked at some sample problems. Make sure you're ready to do that review. This chapter review counts as a quiz grade. So it is important. You may use your book. You may use your calculators. You may not use mom, dad, sister, brother, a tutor, Google, anything. Okay, I'm trusting your integrity on this. You take it like a quiz. Remember, if you have questions, you can click on that link I send you and remind. I also sent you an email on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can come ask me questions 1 to 2:30 on that link. All right, have a great day. Good luck.